Is Erin Jones, and my business is Erin Jones Pilates. That is recent. It didn't start out that way, but I switched to Erin Jones Pilates mostly because I wanted to be a more personal space,
Mhm.
but also just my son, who he's pretty good at graphic design. He had done a project and made all these logos for me, and I was like, they're
Yes.
so cool. I have to use them. So that's
Yeah.
what started the whole thing.
It's
I
funny that
thought,
you say that, because I really love your logo. It's so simple and it's just like it's perfect, right? It's just what you do.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's like he knew me, and he was so proud of like different aspects that he little details he put in there that were so great. So yeah, it was fun. It's I'm always trying to honor my family through this, whether
Mm.
they don't always feel that way because they're so busy. It pulls you in multiple directions. So,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, it was a way of doing that. So,
Yeah. Can you say more about that, like honoring your family through that? Because I think I do that too, but I've never heard it said that way.
yeah, I mean, um, the whole reason I didn't, I, I think like many people, I never expected to have a Pilates studio. I just had no, um, it was like when I was little I was very creative and I loved to invent play, so like um I would make a library or I would make a store. And
Yeah.
to the detail, like that was like my thing. And so I think I had those skills, but I used to call it playing Pilates when I first started my business. It was like,
Yes.
oh, I get to do this, and
All day.
and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So yeah, it's for me. I think honoring my family. I'd been through a pretty serious health crisis before I found Pilates. So
Mm.
I have four children. I had all four children and became quite sick, and it was a struggle, like a 4-year struggle. And
Wow.
Pilates just happened to be the first thing I tried after with one of my best friends to this day. After feeling better, and I grew up swimming competitively, so
Dance background too, or
no. Apparently, I had the right things, but my dance teacher scared the crap out of me. So I
and that's
no,
your
I
dance
didn't go
career.
that. And then that was that. Yeah. But and the same thing happened with my daughter, which is really funny. Like apparently have the potential, but it's really weird to be looked at like a body. But I started swimming when I was 3. So I feel like there was something in the connection, the fluidity of movement,
Yes.
the constant resistance on the reformer felt like the resistance in the water for me.
Hmm.
So um, and I just like immediately fell in love. My friend who I was going with, she did not fall in love and she hated it. So it was like, okay,
Well,
but
what
I'm
did
gonna
she
do
hate
this,
in it?
okay?
Yeah. So you loved it because of swimming, and like I think we could talk about that too. Like Joseph Pilates loved swimming, right? Like he said that was probably the perfect exercise, right? Because
It
there's a
is a
coordination
perfect
of, I personally
breath and
hate swimming,
movement.
but
Yeah.
I sink like a rock. But
It's so
um,
funny. It's so funny. I don't know why it was my thing. It was like I hear stories like my dad threw me in the water and I just went. Like it was instinctual. And I think everything in my life that I've been good at has been that way. Like it's
yes,
just I get it and I go
hmm
with it, or it's
yep,
not for me.
right,
So, but yeah, back to my family. I had felt really horrible and felt like I was missing things when I was sick. and
Mm,
and so I wanted to just live, you know. I felt
yes.
this new, like, immediate vitality, not really connected to Pilates yet, but I wanted to do something. I wanted to show them I was alive and I could move.
Mm,
And didn't
interesting.
start out. It didn't start out as like a, and just that, you know, our bodies. I don't know. I felt like I will never take my health for granted again. Not that I
Yes.
had been one of those people, but yeah,
did your illness like really affect like your physical strength and your energy and all those things as well? Like, did you feel like you lost the quote unquote the body you
yes.
had before?
Oh, yeah, Martin. Like I just like I had this mental checklist where as I worked through, it was thyroid, and it was, you know, I was really young when it was diagnosed, and they didn't want to like remove the gland, and it's a whole like thyroid thing. It's like
Mhm.
a thyroid podcast,
It's
but like,
it's just something that happens to people, right? Like when you normalize these situations, whatever it is, that people now are like they identify with you in that because they may be at a point where they're not sure what to do next, right? So that's why I love
yeah,
just
yeah.
the transparency of those conversations. So let's talk thyroid.
You want to talk about thyroid? Oh my goodness. Um, Well, for me, I thought, you know, I just had my fourth child, and I thought that you know, was depressed. I had
Mm,
trouble just like getting energy back, and thankfully I had a great doctor, and he said, you know what, come in, I'm going to check your thyroid.
mhm.
And he was one of those, all my kids had allergies and asthma, which they all know Pilates breathing. Um, and it really does exercise your lungs. Like
Yes.
none of them are dependent on inhalers, so that's awesome. But yeah, I didn't do it. I had my kids in, like I had my infant was one that's very sensitive, and he struggled with with everything. Like I feel like we were at the doctor every week. So finally I was there, and he just said, sit down, I'm going to check this. And he's like, sure enough, I had nodules. And it just, I remember, I'll never forget, he was like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, why are you sorry? Like, we know what's wrong. And
Hmm.
he said, but for someone your age, this can be a roller coaster, because it's like, they try to shrink the nodules initially
Okay.
with medication. So you might be too young, but do you remember the Mike Myers, Nicole Kidman skit where he was a hypo?
No.
You guys have to look it up. It's really funny. He was this kid on the playground, and she was like this. You know, he wanted to play with her, and he kept saying, "I'm a hypo," and that's how I felt. Like he had chocolate, and he was able to like run and pull the whole playground with him, and it's a funny skit.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, move on. But I felt like
I'll look it up
I
after.
was, yeah, look it up. I was hypo. Like they kind of send you high to see
Hmm.
what happens. So into
Yes.
hyperthyroid, I was hypothyroid,
Yes.
and it doesn't change any. It just like it makes you hot and miserable, and I don't know. It was like it was.
Yeah.
He was right. It was a roller coaster of
Yes.
up and down, and just not feeling myself, and um, never shook like the baby weight, and never felt like I got my energy back, because even when they take you hyper, you surge.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a time I
Hmm.
don't. It was it's
Wouldn't wish
something
it upon
never.
anyone.
Never.
Yeah.
Like many things, you know, you
Right.
would never wish them on another person ever. But I, I made it through, and literally I was lucky because it didn't go into the, like, I had 4 biopsies, and abnormal cells are cancer cells.
Hmm.
So, had I been older, had a lot of things happened, I would have been,
Yeah.
it would have been a lot more serious. It
Right.
just was 4 years of my life. So
Right.
that
Well,
felt,
that's,
it felt horrible.
yeah. And now, how did you decipher that it wasn't just like baby blues, like that kind of like
Yeah. No,
postpartum?
that's what I thought. And that's, when I called the doctor, I said, I think I might be depressed. And he said, like I said a minute, he said, come in, I want to test your thyroid. And I didn't
Hmm.
go in. So it
Right.
was when I was
He
in
just
with one
figured
of
you
my
could shake it,
children.
sort of thing.
No, he knew that oftentimes when people, you want to always look at thyroid if
Hmm.
someone is depressed, especially if it's hormonal, like after babies. Like literally, he was a newborn. So, and I expected to get, have more energy. Like you have the baby and you're like, yes,
I'm gonna
and
do this. I'm gonna go
you're,
here.
yeah,
I'm gonna go.
and you're
Yeah.
tired and all the things, but it's amazing. It's amazing. So, yeah, I just felt like I was dragging and it kept getting
Hmm.
worse. Like I felt like I was getting drugged deeper down
Yeah.
into things. So, and I have like two sets. I have two older children and two younger children, and these are my two younger ones. And I just felt like I wasn't showing up for
Hmm.
any, but like you get in those places where you feel like you're not enough. I think that's
Yes.
a true struggle. I find it actually very interesting lately, the attention that like media is giving to the struggles that moms, women working from home are going
Right.
through right now. It's about time, and
Hmm.
it's very real. Like there's only, and especially women, like I was a stay-at-home mom, so I was very grateful that I could be
Hmm.
at home and be, trying to sort out whether or not it was enough for my children. But
Yeah.
um,
You have
when
to
I got
work
better,
and find those
yeah,
balances
I
too.
can't imagine yeah, I am with them in my heart all the way because
It's a lot.
it's a different culture now, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about that, and this is one of the lines she always says is that when she's working, she feels like she's not being a good mom, and when she's being a mom, she feels like she's not a good employee, right? Like at no point do you feel
Yeah,
like you have that balance of I'm at work, I'm here, I'm present, and then your kid's like, "Mom, what's for dinner tonight?" And you're like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, I'm trying to get this done so I can get out of the. I'll be home at 4, and then you roll in at 5:30 because you're trying to get something done at work, and then your kids are, you know what I mean? So she went through that cycle of feeling like she wasn't good enough anywhere
yeah,
because she was working so hard to
yes,
be a good employee, and then working so hard to be a good mom, and then
yeah,
it's just, and then also with that too is you'd have a staff meeting and they're like, oh, we're going out for drinks after. And you're like, I got to be home because I have the kids here. And then you're missing those opportunities to build relationships and open the next door in your
your
career
career,
that
yeah.
happens after hours because you're trying to be a good mom. Like this cycle, whether it's a dad or a mom, but in my wife's case, like that was her experience that you feel like you're just never good enough anywhere.
I totally hear that, and I hear it from my people all the time. Like
Hmm.
especially the working moms. I love working with them because they don't get a break, and Pilates is their moment. That's what I found in Pilates,
Yes.
that it was the one time. And just going back real quick to Alex is your wife. Is
Yep.
that's her name?
Yes.
You're
Yes.
so cute, are you guys? Um, I mean, it's really sweet. I Yeah, like even you feel like you're never enough. Can feel like a true failure, and
Hmm.
in your mind like that's not what it is.
Right.
That you're exerting positive energy both directions. How that's received, you don't have control over.
Right.
And
There's a
so, Go ahead.
Sorry, there's a comment here from Krista that says, "My therapist told me there is the expectation from women to be a mom as you are not working, to be an employee as you have no kids." Right? So, what the sense is like when you're in your mom mode, don't think of it like I'm a mom and I have a job. It's like, and when you're in employee mode, don't think about your kids. Is that what you're saying? Like that sense of just like being there and being ready and expect
Being present.
being present.
See, uh that whole thing flips. Like when you have your own business,
Yes.
that those are the things I didn't see coming. Like
Ah,
I didn't expect to have a business. I didn't, playing Pilates seemed fun and I was really grateful.
yes.
I'm a very goal-oriented person,
Mhm.
and so I was just so happy to feel better and be doing all these things that literally I started to tell you, like I scratched off my list. And when I
Yes.
scratched off movement, like
Mm.
I guess that's just not for me anymore when I was sick.
Wow. Yeah.
That was a
That's tough.
total, yeah. So I was just so elated to be like back on my bucket list, like I did
Mm.
all these things that I had wanted to do and model. Like you hope you're modeling. You don't,
That's the next
I've
piece
got
too, right?
yeah, I've got
Mm.
old kids and now I guess they're all old now, but
What are their ages now?
they are 30. So I got married when I was in college. So,
Hmm.
and then I said, oh, I probably shouldn't tell that story. I don't know, but I didn't think I would have children immediately. But I like 6 months. We were married 6 months, and I found out I was pregnant. So I was like, no. So but like my oldest is my only girl, and the moment I saw her, moment, like the whole thing was, it's so me, it's so who I am. I'm such a
Yes.
nurturer, and she might not think that, but um I don't know.
I
It's
hear you.
I
So,
I remember. Oh, God.
no, I was gonna say, well, Krista's comment. Krista, if you want to expand on that, like, if you want to put in the comment section, say a little bit more about what you meant by that. Like, that's a really key point. Like, and that's what you're talking about here too, Erin. Is like we finding that balance, and then when you move into um, owning a studio, and then those are totally different pulls in being an employee, where you can say, I'm just going to take a couple of days off and I'm still getting my benefits and it's not my problem to keep the lights on. Um,
Yeah.
right? That's one thing. But then the other piece to it, and actually it's funny, Becky just came into the room. Hi. We were talking yesterday about having fun in this work and not taking it too serious and all these things. So when you were saying like playing Pilates, there's a part of me that like laughs at that, because I know there's a time when I was doing other jobs and I thought to myself, I didn't really want to do personal training full time because I didn't want it to not be fun anymore. Like there would be
Mm-hmm.
this pressure all of a sudden to make it work. It's no longer
Mm-hmm.
a hobby. It's not longer, you know what I mean? So when
Mm-hmm.
you say playing Pilates, the challenge within my head was, okay, how can I take care of myself in a way that I can still own a studio? I can do this full time. This could be my lone source of income, and I can still play Pilates. I can still enjoy it and it not be a burden.
Well, that's the whole thing with this work, right? Like,
Hmm.
and I've been through the ebb and flow of a lot of, the ups and downs of owner operating for sure. Um, but, but what we do, like, think of like your sport. You never thought of it. Like, I never thought of swimming competitively as a job. I felt
Hmm.
like that it was just my escape. It was my place. It was my peace.
Yes.
And so I think that when, I mean, I don't think I feel deeply privileged to be able to share, especially having developed myself over the years,
Hmm.
exploring different avenues of this work, like continue to seek and engage,
Yes.
and then to not be afraid to roll with whatever. Like when I notice something's not for me,
Hmm.
it may be painful, but
Yes.
you have to let it go. And
Right.
sometimes it's easier said than done. Like trust me, I haven't done the best job letting things go over time,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you learn and move on,
Hmm.
or you don't. You grow or you don't. So
Right. So
I feel
I have
like
a question with that too. Sorry, finish your thought.
no, that's okay. I'm good. Ask me. You got it.
Um,
You had to keep. Otherwise, I'll go like all the way
no,
around
no,
and
it's
come back.
okay. It's all good. Discernment, the word discernment. When you're in that moment when you are struggling with something, what do you tell yourself and how do you decide when it's okay, I need to press through because this is something I need to get through to the other side on, and this is something I need to just like, let me just like walk away right now and
No,
save
no, no.
myself a world of hurt.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still learning that. Like I want everyone to, and I think it's so funny because that's a word I would have used with my children. I would have said, discern what is right and wrong, discern what's best for you. But I think like when you're conditioned, like your family of origin type stuff, to
Hmm.
be the caretaker type person, I think
Mm,
it's really hard to release like you can discern like, okay, this doesn't feel good. This
yes.
doesn't feel like the right direction for me.
Right.
But sometimes it's hard to switch because like whether it be like an investment you've made in your education or an investment you've made in people, and it doesn't feel good, but you don't really want to be the one to like
Hmm.
say, um, it's a hard thing. I feel like personally, because there's always a lot to juggle and balance, to try to
Hmm.
find that balance. I I oftentimes just hit walls where like, yeah, I mean literally, like
Yeah.
I feel like I still have to learn the hard way often, and not
Yes.
that it's not that that's a bad thing.
Hmm.
It's because my whole heart is with whatever it is, and
Yes,
I
totally.
want so badly like not to be misunderstood, or like I don't want my children to misunderstand me when
Hmm.
I'm trying to continue to make my business run, and
Yes. Yes, right, right,
so it's that. But yeah, like
right.
I definitely have gotten better at that. A lot of it is finding a teacher,
Yes.
finding the
Right.
teacher who you hear them,
Hmm.
which is super cool.
I'm gonna
So
read
that's
this
like,
comment
like
here. Yeah, and that's Kai talks about that, finding your Joseph, that person that really connects with you and all this stuff. But here's Crystal's comment from earlier when we were talking about that work-life balance and trying to find that sweet spot, like I was saying with my wife, where feeling like you're not a good employee when you're at home and you're not a good mom when you're at work, sort of thing. And she was saying, I experienced burnout with depression due to giving too much in coaching while being a young mom with a 4-year-old and a 4-month-old. And the therapist at the
mhm.
time asked me, how do you want to be remembered? As there is always expectation in the world for working moms. So at home, you need to just be present as if you have no job, right? And then lastly, she's saying, um, to work and to be present to do your job. Yeah, so it's about finding balance. That's the whole point of what we're saying. We need
Yeah,
to face it. We need to learn to let go and let go of our scheduling worries and find balance. And then Gene, the next
yeah,
comment there too was it's so hard to switch, but then we finally do, and I feel like that is a place where big growth happens, right? So
totally, totally. I feel like, yeah, like
so
my
good.
story is, that was really good. I feel like, it's very hard, very hard, very hard, especially to let go when it comes to your children.
Mhm.
And when you have invested so much in like developing a business, and initially, when I started my business, it just kind of happened. I didn't expect it. And then all of a sudden it grew and I had all these aspects to it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, this, it was everything and more. But what I had to come to terms with is I don't, I I didn't sign up to manage people, and to do
Right.
like that just wasn't my gift, um, and just a lot of things. So I've
Mhm.
trusted that and made changes over the years. So
Right.
I feel like my instincts are my gift. When I listen to them,
Mhm.
I'm good, and when I don't listen, I
Not so good.
struggle. Yeah. So.
So when I say when I share the story I did at the beginning, I'm not sure if you were in the room yet or not, but I was saying
No.
that over the weekend I took off basically like 40 hours, like from Saturday night all day Sunday and the majority of Monday, and I just like went like dark. Did not pick up my phone, just did a few things just to confirm a clients. But other than that, I spent, Saturday night with the family, Sunday some time with my wife, with Alex, Valentine's Day, Monday family day, went downtown with my boys. We're a blended family, but my two boys and I have this tradition of going to the car show on the long weekend, but it's canceled, but we decided to go downtown anyway. So when
Mm-hmm.
you hear someone say something like, I just stopped everything, I just disappeared, I didn't pick up my phone, I just full out just stopped, and
Mm-hmm.
then just picked everything back up on Tuesday. When you hear that, do you cringe like, I could never do that? Or you're just like,
No,
that's sort
no,
of, because I know
not
some people,
anymore.
yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. Not
Yes.
anymore. I feel like that took a lot of practice for me. And I mean, when you have a bunch of instructors depending on you and things like, it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to put it down. Unfortunately, that was, when my kids were younger. and and there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like, technology wasn't what it is now, but one of our really good friends, when she had children, she decided to do no tech Sundays, so everybody puts
Okay.
their phone in a thing. And
Yes.
I thought that was brilliant. And there were a couple times like when I got my olders back, like after college, and
Mm-hmm.
then I had my youngers, and we tried, and you know what? I do think it's so good to just shut down,
Yeah. Yes.
and and you have to give yourself that time to breathe. And I've also been very lucky on my journey to where I know I want to be now, to have some really great instructors. Like there was one in particular who is just phenomenal, and my objective was to close my studio when my youngest son went to college.
Okay.
So when he went back to college, I was like, I had timed my lease that it would be done, and I wanted to bring everything home because it just, for me, um, that was that part of my
It
journey.
was just
And
time.
yeah, it was so time. And it's been interesting since then. But I also had this wonderful woman that showed up and taught, and just, she was amazing. So I gave me time to rest, which like I don't know if you've heard of adrenal fatigue,
Yes.
but I had been going through that last year. There was a lot going on in my life. And my jaw had been seizing up. Like I had been just
Mm.
going. When you talk
Yes.
about just going and not paying attention, I had
Mm-hmm.
been like, my son and I would have, we called them Hamburger Wednesdays. We'd meet. This restaurant had $5 burgers and they were really good in town. So we would like, it was fun. It was so
Mm-hmm.
fun. But I realized like I'm like stuffy. I couldn't get the food in my mouth. and I wasn't paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
finally, I just like I had all this pain and weird stuff going on, and I thought like I just had like some weird jaw thing, and they were like,
I
no.
see.
So I
Yes.
know it was
And
nuts. It
you're
was
a
just
Pilates teacher,
uh-huh,
right? Like it's one of those things
yeah.
where like this we're supposed to be the model of health to bring our unhealthy A-type personalities to health, and here we are carrying
Uh,
this.
yeah, and I think like and maybe some of the moms out there will relate to this. Like no matter how old your children are, your part of your brain and body is like with them. And
Hmm.
it you I don't really know that you can, especially because my work I've only worked for myself ever.
Right.
So
Yes.
I always say I'm that person that's like, don't do this. Like I would go work for someone else, and I know that's complicated too. I've actually considered that and gone and auditioned and interviewed, and I don't know, it would be more hours out of the
Hmm.
house, so
Yeah.
it's not the place I want to go yet. There are things that would be nice about like putting work away, literally
Hmm.
leaving wherever you work and coming home. Now everybody's at home anyway, so
Right.
we're all trying to figure this out. So
Yes.
who knows? You don't know what the future is going to bring. I just think um, until you find your
Your
the
person.
right voice, yeah,
Yes.
I think that well, the first part of my career was different. Like I had a different type of training, and you were always reinvesting and
Hmm.
relearning, and then I was going through a big life change, and one of my girlfriends who I had trained with in my first, I'm going into like how Pilates found me differently.
Yes. Yes. I follow you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
Um, so I had been looking for more. Like I wanted something like I don't know what it was. So I had gone down. She worked in Chicago. We both met working in Chicago in my early teaching years, and she was now the director of a Pilates program at like a big box gym. And she said, "Come work out with me. I've been looking into these other things." And so that's where it started. She started talking about return to life and you
Yes.
got to read this book. And we played with spring tensions on the machines that we had. And I was like, okay, I can see where this would be. This is, yes,
Yes.
yes, this is more connected. So then I started to look at other, like someone said follow Kathy Rosh Nash. She's like, just follow, like find her. And so I started watching her and thinking, and I was like, holy cow, like she, like seeing what she was doing.
Hmm.
And I don't know if she, I mean, to me I was like, she's such a beat, like she's so strong. and
Yes. Yeah.
and people would always say, like, about me, she's stronger than she looks, because
Hmm.
you know where to find it.
Right. Yes.
But she just looks strong, like, so I don't know. But and so I was so ready to find something else. So um, I started just taking what we would call classical. There's like there used to be those two opposing things, and
Philosophies. Yeah.
and I felt better. I felt like, oh, it wasn't so much about which muscles moving and this,
Hmm.
like, because Pilates is biomechanics, but it's so much more. So,
Right.
and I felt like all those years of building a business and doing all the things that I was supposed to do to keep up my credentials, and I did TRX, I did core training where like I applied Pilates principles to boot camp type
Hmm.
sessions. I didn't like calling them boot camps, but it was great fun. But it was all not Pilates. So like I just felt like what happened to Pilates? And when
Yeah.
was the last time I did Pilates? I
Interesting.
was
Yeah.
passionate about helping everyone else. So um and just having a teacher. So I went to a conference in Chicago. Someone had said, take a lesson with Chris Robinson. So I was like, all right. I took a lesson with Chris Robinson. I don't
Yeah.
know, like
He's great teacher. Oh man, so good.
amazing. Like, and I just connected with him because, but it was really funny because I still like was trying to figure out these machines, the Gratz machines and
Yes.
machines, the equipment,
Yes.
and and he said, "Do you have any questions?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, I'm curious what like the carriage is in the and he's like, okay, while you're thinking of more questions, let's get to work. And so it was just moving. Oh my goodness, sweating. I have never felt anything like it in my life. And what he was asking me to do. And at the time, Maury Windsor was there. She was in the room and
Hmm.
just, she had been doing privates and she was kind of walking by and giggling
Oh,
like
pity.
I got another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, what is this? What is happening? And
Yes.
I've done like these major workouts my whole life, like this connection with the girlfriend where we go to the sports training facility and
Hmm.
do these crazy treadmill workouts and
Yes.
all these things and I was really fit, but and I always had been into doing some type of weight training or something like that.
Mm.
And
But this still caught you in a different way,
oh my gosh, I was nauseous. He was like, "Are you okay?" Like, and I'm like, "I don't know." Like, I am so like, I don't get like,
It's so funny,
it,
Aaron. Like only an athlete would be like, it was so I was nauseous. It was awesome. Like,
it was awesome.
right?
So we sat and talked and about it, and I still was like in my head, like, what the heck happened? Like,
Hmm.
I gotta feel that again. I
Yes.
wanted to know it, and
Yes.
so I started going to San Diego to take lessons with him and like
Hmm.
he's been to my studio. It's been so yeah, it's been a he's an amazing teacher and I think we just connect because maybe that athleticism part of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
The hardest part, I think we talked about this. He told me stop working out. And
Mm.
he told me his story about that and
Yes.
that was hard. I didn't obey initially. And I even like sent him a video of like, well, this is what I'm doing. He's like, yeah, I would have never trained you like that. So
Mm.
like
Yeah.
yeah. So either so I that took a long time, but um a lot of my issues, like even though I had, done a lot lot of work on myself,
You
I
still train
still,
in the same movement patterns, right? Oh, sorry about that.
it's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so,
we get those same movement patterns. So yeah, it does make a difference to get Pilates in your body when you stop doing what you've always been doing. Because think about like you just naturally train the same way for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years
yeah,
plus, right?
yeah.
So,
Your muscles have memory. So even if you
hmm.
think like, I'm doing this the Pilates way, you're, you're not doing Pilates. You're not connecting, you're not being informed by the reformer.
Right.
The
Interesting.
biggest thing for me was like when I felt the spring tension
Hmm.
differences on these machine, I don't know why I'm saying machines.
Yeah. Each
But
performer is
yeah,
so different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it was awesome.
Aaron, we've for being nervous about having a conversation, we are at 56 minutes. Like we just flew
What?
through. Yes.
And we
True
talked about
story.
things about, yeah, we never expected to talk about.
Love it.
But I'm glad we touched on that, the mom guilt stuff, and
Hmm.
yeah, and I think more power to you if you can shut it off and turn it back on, and but
Hmm.
yeah, we're all different people, and I think we're all experiencing very similar stresses right now. I
Yes.
want to say one more thing
Please.
because
Yeah.
this is what I have noticed. I'm just, getting people back in the door after this, after, the shutdowns. And it's been such a privilege to get to work with people virtually because that hyper focus of
Hmm.
I described it like in a post of it's very intimate because you're really getting to watch them and correct.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm blessed with that eye. Like there's art in my background too, um, but the biggest thing, and that we need to remember for ourselves and encourage this beautiful community that you're creating. When you
Hmm.
asked me to do this, like I think it was in the spring, I don't know, and
A long
then
time ago.
I know, and I was like, I didn't know what you were doing, and then life happened, and I had some sad things in
Hmm.
my brother passed away, and that was the thing that I really wanted to share. But maybe we'll talk again. But
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
I would love to. That would be great. But watching people come back through the door, feel safe, feel safe because we're together again. Realize like how
Hmm.
much they missed. Like if they weren't up for virtuals, they're more connected to the equipment, which is great. But watching them open up that headspace, because that
Yes.
was like what drew me to Pilates in the first place, was that it was the one and then two times a week when I began just practicing personally that I realized, oh my gosh, an hour went by like this, and I
Yeah.
didn't worry about my four
You're so
children
present.
or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So really working and getting it in your body and having a teacher has been huge for me,
Hmm.
to be able to have someone I'm checking in with, or I know like he's probably wondering where am I,
Yes.
there's there's
It's
it,
so, yeah.
it's a whole different type of experience, and I feel really honored to be that in other people's lives. Like, let's
Yes.
just move, let's just practice,
Yes.
and we figure things out. So,
Amazing. My biggest takeaway, I think, from our conversation as we close out here is be present. Like, I think that was a common thread through what you're saying is just being present. And for us as teachers to give that space for people to be present. And that's an honor that we have as teachers to be able to make space for people in that
yeah.
way. Yeah.
And it takes work. I find it easier to do in movement than
Hmm.
other, like we were talking
Yes.
about work life balance. Didn't expect to talk about that, but but yeah, it's easier in areas where I think you're more comfortable than
Yes.
in others. But it is a practice. It's practice. It's
Hmm.
intentional. It has to be something that you decide, okay, I see this as lacking and I need to set an intention on how I'm going to. You said
Yeah.
teach spin, and I was like, it was cool. It was my, during the week where I would say, okay, I'm going to set an intention for this class. So it
Hmm.
reminded me to do that for myself. But anyway,
True. Thank you for your time today. Really enjoyed this conversation. And thank you to everyone who shared their comments. Love you, Erin. Thank you, Martin, for sharing the conversation. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for showing that being vulnerable is okay. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing so openly. Amazing, amazing stuff. All right.
Aw.
Thank you
I
so
can't.
much, Erin.
Thank you, Martin. I'm
All
so glad
right.
we finally connected. You're doing a
Likewise.
wonderful thing. It's so great to get to, now that I know what we're doing, I
We'll
get
have you
to hear.
back.
So,
You'll
okay.
be, yeah, you'll be a natural next time I have you on. It'll be so fun.